You might be surprised to know that humans share 98.7% of our DNA with chimpanzees. Yes, you heard it right. Almost 99% of our DNA is identical to that of our primate cousins. This astonishing fact stems from the realm of genetic similarity, a concept that can reveal unexpected relationships between different species. Think about it. Our bodies, our behaviors, our abilities all spring from the blueprint that is our DNA. When we share a high percentage of this blueprint with another creature, it often means we've branched off from a common ancestor somewhere down the line. It's kind of like opening a book of your family history and finding out you're related to a famous person. Only in this case, the famous person is a chimpanzee. So brace yourself, because the world of genetics is full of surprises. Today, we'll explore some of the most surprising genetic relatives in the animal kingdom. You might be surprised at what we find. Chickens may seem harmless, but they're closely related to one of the most fearsome creatures to have ever roamed the earth, the Tyrannosaurus rex. Now you might be wondering, how on earth did scientists come to this startling conclusion? Well, it all comes down to genetics. You see, every living thing on Earth carries around a blueprint of its existence in the form of DNA. This DNA holds the keys to our past, present, and future, and by studying it, we can trace the lineage of any creature all the way back to its oldest ancestors. So when scientists began studying the DNA of a chicken, they found something utterly surprising. Hidden within the genetic code of this humble bird were sequences strikingly similar to those found in the fossils of the mighty T-Rex. Yes, you heard it right, the humble chicken shares a genetic lineage with the T-Rex, one of the most formidable predators the world has ever seen. And it's not just about genetic similarities. Some physical traits link these two creatures as well. For instance, the structure of the chicken's legs and the T-Rex's legs are eerily alike. Both have a similar three-toed stance, and the way they move is also surprisingly comparable. But how did this happen? How did a fearsome beast like the T-Rex evolve into a creature as benign as a chicken? Well, over millions of years, as the Earth's environment changed, so did its inhabitants. The dinosaurs had to adapt to survive, and in the process, they evolved into various forms, some of which eventually led to the birds we see today. And there you have it, a connection that spans millions of years, linking a creature of our backyards to a beast of prehistoric times. It's fascinating, isn't it? The wonders of evolution and genetics, bridging gaps we never thought possible. So next time you see a chicken, you might want to remember that it has a little bit of T-Rex in it. Scene script. Dolphins and hippos may seem like very different creatures, but genetically they're closer than you might think. Let's dive into this fascinating connection. Dolphins, the graceful swimmers of the sea, known for their intelligence and playful nature. And then we have hippos, the semi-aquatic giants, recognized for their impressive size and powerful jaws. At first glance, they might appear worlds apart, but here's the twist. They share a common ancestor. Yes, you heard it right. Dolphins and hippos are distant cousins. The story of their connection takes us back about 40 to 50 million years. Around this time, a group of even-toed ungulates, animals that walk on an even number of toes, began to adapt to life in water. This group, the cetaceans, eventually gave rise to all modern whales and dolphins. But what about the hippos? Well, they're also part of this group of even-toed ungulates. In fact, hippos are the closest living relatives to cetaceans. Despite their hefty size and terrestrial lifestyle, they share more genetic similarities with dolphins than with any other land mammal. Now you might be wondering, how can this be? These two species look and behave so differently, but that's the beauty of evolution. Over millions of years, each species adapted to its unique environment and lifestyle. Dolphins became streamlined and developed complex communication skills for life in the ocean, while hippos evolved to be semi-aquatic, spending much of their time submerged in water to keep cool and protect their sensitive skin. These adaptations may have led them down different paths, but their shared genetic history remains. It's a testament to the incredible diversity and adaptability of life on our planet. So the next time you see a dolphin leaping through the waves or a hippo lounging in a river, remember that these two seemingly disparate creatures share a common heritage, a tale of evolution that's as fascinating as it is unexpected. It seems that the animal kingdom is full of surprising relationships. Cats and bears may not look alike, but their genes tell a different story. This might sound surprising, but it's true. The genetic bond between these two seemingly distinct species is stronger than you might imagine. Let's dive into the world of genetic research to understand how this unexpected relationship was discovered. The science of genetics is a fascinating field, one that is continually unfolding new insights into the animal kingdom. Researchers use advanced technologies to decode the DNA of various species, examining the genetic material to understand the relationships between different creatures. So, how do cats and bears relate on the genetic level? Well, both of them belong to the carnivora order, a group of mammals that also includes dogs, seals, and a few other species. But the similarities don't stop there. Genetic studies have shown that within this order, cats and bears share a common ancestor. It's like finding out you and your neighbor are long-lost cousins. In fact, the genetic similarities between cats and bears are so significant that these two species share a family within the carnivora order. This family, called Feliformia, also includes other species like hyenas and mongoose. It's quite fascinating to think that your house cat shares a branch on the family tree with the formidable grizzly bear. But what does this mean? Well, it suggests that over millions of years, these animals have evolved from a common ancestor, adapting to their environments and developing distinct characteristics, yet maintaining a shared genetic foundation. It's a testament to the incredible power and complexity of evolution. It's interesting how genetic research can shatter our preconceived notions about animals and their relationships. We tend to categorize animals based on their physical appearances or behaviors. But genetics often tells a different story, uncovering hidden connections that we wouldn't otherwise see. So, it seems that your pet cat might have more in common with a grizzly bear than you think. With this newfound knowledge, maybe the next time you watch your cat play, you'll see a hint of its bear-like ancestry. Isn't evolution absolutely fascinating? Snakes and lizards might seem like obvious relatives, but you might be surprised to know just how closely they're related. Now, when we think of lizards, we see them basking in the sun, scurrying along rocks, or clambering up walls. And snakes? Well, they're the ones silently slithering through the undergrowth, right? But despite their differences in locomotion and lifestyle, these two are actually close kin in the animal kingdom. You see, both snakes and lizards belong to the squamate order of reptiles, a group distinguished by their scales and the ability to shed their skin. In fact, snakes are essentially a subset of lizards. That's right, all snakes are lizards, but not all lizards are snakes. But how did this happen? Well, it's all about evolution, my friend. Picture this. Millions of years ago, some of our lizard friends began adapting to new environments, leading them down a different evolutionary path. In the process, they lost their legs, developed elongated bodies, and voila, snakes were born. Genetically speaking, snakes and lizards share a remarkable amount of DNA. Think of it this way. If the genetic code were a language, snakes and lizards would be speaking dialects of the same tongue. They share many of the same genes, just expressed in different ways. For instance, snakes still possess the genes required to develop legs, they're just turned off. And it's not just the genes. Snakes and lizards also share similar physical characteristics like their forked tongues and the ability to regenerate their tails. They're both cold-blooded, lay eggs, and most interestingly, they have a unique jaw structure that allows them to swallow their prey whole. So, while they might look and behave differently, snakes and lizards are indeed closely related. It's a fascinating glimpse into the world of evolution, showing us how species can diverge and adapt while still maintaining a strong genetic link to their ancestors. So the next time you see a snake slithering by, remember that it's just a legless lizard. Bees and ants might both be insects, but you might be surprised to know that they're also close genetic relatives. You see, in the grand tapestry of the insect world, bees and ants share a common thread. This familial bond between bees and ants is woven into their DNA. Both bees and ants belong to the order of insects known as Hymenoptera, which also includes wasps and sawflies. This fascinating family of insects is characterized by a unique genetic trait, haplodiploidy. This means that males develop from unfertilized eggs and are haploid, having only one set of chromosomes, while females are diploid, developing from fertilized eggs and having two sets of chromosomes. But the genetic similarities between bees and ants don't stop there. Both species exhibit complex social structures, with individuals working together in large colonies. This social behavior has been linked to a group of genes associated with the development and functioning of the nervous system, which both bees and ants share. So what does this mean? Well, it tells us that despite their differences in appearance and lifestyle, bees and ants have more in common than meets the eye. For instance, both insects communicate with each other using sophisticated methods. Bees perform intricate waggle dances to indicate the direction of food sources, while ants lay down pheromone trails to guide their fellow workers. Moreover, both bees and ants play crucial roles in our ecosystem. Bees, as we know, are vital for pollination, helping plants reproduce. Ants, on the other hand, are essential decomposers, breaking down organic material and improving soil quality. In essence, these two kinds of insects, though seemingly different, share a deep-rooted genetic connection. They've evolved over millions of years, adapting to their environments and developing complex societies, all while maintaining a shared genetic heritage. So while bees and ants might seem very different, they're actually quite similar on a genetic level. Penguins and albatrosses might seem like very different birds, but genetically they're closer than you might think. Let's take a moment to consider these two bird species. Penguins, with their tuxedo-like feathers and their penchant for cold, icy environments, are quite distinctive. They're known for their waddling walk and their incredible ability to swim and dive. On the other hand, albatrosses are known for their impressive wingspans, some of the largest among all bird species, and their ability to glide for hours without flapping their wings even once, mastering the air currents over the vast open oceans. Despite these apparent differences, penguins and albatrosses share a surprising amount of genetic material. Both species belong to a group of birds known as the Procellariiformes, or tube-nosed seabirds. This group also includes other seabirds like petrels and shearwaters. They're all united by some common features: a remarkable adaptation to marine life, a keen sense of smell, and tubular nostrils. Interestingly, these two species also share a common ancestor that lived millions of years ago. Over time, as different populations of this ancestral species became isolated from each other, they evolved into the diverse range of species we see today. Each species adapted to its unique environment, with penguins becoming master swimmers in the icy waters of the southern hemisphere and albatrosses evolving to soar over the open oceans. But what's truly fascinating is how much of their genetic blueprint they still share. Recent studies have shown that penguins and albatrosses have a high degree of genetic similarity. This has allowed scientists to trace back their lineage and understand better the evolutionary history of these two remarkable bird species. So, while penguins and albatrosses might appear to be worlds apart, they're actually more like distant cousins in the grand family tree of life. Their story is a testament to the power of evolution and the surprising connections that exist in the natural world. So it seems that the bird kingdom is also full of surprising relationships. Humans and cows might seem like very different creatures, but genetically we're closer than you might think. When we look at a cow, we see a bovine creature that gives us milk and meat, whereas when we see a human, we see a bipedal, intelligent being capable of complex thought and creativity. But if we delve deeper into our genetic structure, we find that we share a surprising amount of our DNA with cows. Let's take a journey into the world of genetics. If we were to compare our human DNA to that of a cow, we would find that around 80% of our genes have counterparts in the bovine genome. That's right, 80%. This means that many of the basic biological processes that keep us alive and functioning are also at work in cows. These genetic similarities are a result of our shared ancestry. Both humans and cows are mammals, and all mammals share a common ancestor, a creature that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Over time, evolution has shaped us into the diverse range of species we see today, but we still carry with us the genetic legacy of our distant ancestors. But how does this genetic similarity manifest itself? Well, think about the proteins that make up our bodies. Many of the proteins in our bodies are also found in cows, and they perform similar functions. For instance, the proteins that help us digest our food are almost identical to those found in cows. And the genes that control the development of our bodies are strikingly similar too. It's fascinating, isn't it? The same basic building blocks of life, the same DNA, the same genes are shared across species as different as humans and cows. This reminds us that, despite our differences, we are all part of the same tapestry of life. So it seems that we humans are more similar to cows than we might like to think. Crocodiles and birds might seem like very different creatures, but genetically, they're closer than you might think. Let's dive into the fascinating world of animal genetics to unravel this surprising connection. At first glance, it's hard to imagine crocodiles and birds having much in common. One is a fearsome predator lurking in the waters, while the other soars through the skies. Yet these two species share a significant amount of genetic material. In fact, they are both descendants of a common ancestor that roamed the Earth over 200 million years ago. This ancient creature, known as the Archosaur, was a reptile that branched into two lineages. One lineage led to the evolution of crocodiles and alligators, while the other led to the dinosaurs and eventually birds. Yes, you heard right. Birds are essentially modern-day dinosaurs. Despite their differences in appearance and lifestyle, crocodiles and birds have retained many genetic similarities. For instance, both have a four-chambered heart, a trait uncommon in the reptile kingdom but shared by mammals. They also have similar lung structures and nesting behaviors. Crocodiles and birds also share certain genetic traits that are absent in other reptiles. For instance, both have genes that regulate the growth of feathers and scales. This suggests that their common ancestor, the Archosaur, likely had a mix of both. Interestingly, research shows that crocodiles are genetically closer to birds than they are to other reptiles like lizards and snakes. This makes the crocodile-bird relationship one of the most surprising in the animal kingdom, but what does this all mean? Well, it highlights the incredible complexity and interconnectedness of life on Earth. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and that even the most unlikely pairs can share a deep, ancient bond. So it seems that the reptile kingdom is also full of surprising relationships. And as we continue to delve into the world of animal genetics, who knows what other fascinating connections we'll discover? As we've seen, the animal kingdom is full of surprising genetic relationships. Our journey has taken us from the towering T-Rex to the humble chicken, showing us that appearances can be deceiving when it comes to genetic ties. Who would have thought these two were so closely linked on the tree of life? And then there were the hippos and dolphins. Despite living in vastly different environments, these two species share a close genetic relationship. It's a perfect example of how evolution can take creatures with a common ancestor and adapt them to thrive in wildly different habitats. We also discovered that cats and bears are more closely related than we might think. It's not something that would immediately come to mind when comparing a small domestic cat with a massive grizzly bear, but genetics tell a different story. The snakes and lizards, on the other hand, didn't come as much of a surprise. These reptiles share a lot of common characteristics, so it makes sense they would be genetically linked. Nevertheless, it's fascinating to explore these relationships in more detail. The bees and ants, two insects that have incredibly structured societies, also share a close genetic connection. It's intriguing to think about how these social structures might have evolved from a common ancestor. And who could forget the penguins and albatrosses? Two birds adapted for life on the ocean, yet so different in appearance and lifestyle. It's a testament to the power of evolution and adaptation. Even us humans don't escape these surprising genetic links, sharing a surprising amount of our DNA with cows. It's a humbling reminder of our place in the animal kingdom. Finally, we delved into the unexpected relationship between crocodiles and birds. This link, perhaps the most surprising of all, shows us that even the most unlikely pairs can be genetically tied. We encourage you to delve deeper into the world of animal genetics and discover more of these surprising relationships. There's a wealth of information out there waiting to be explored. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the surprising world of animal genetics. Please share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating insights into the natural world.